Transmission fluid drain and fill on a 2011 Toyota RAV4 that has 112,402 miles. I just drove the car around the block, so the transmission fluid should be warm. Not hot, but it should be warm. My owner's manual calls for Toyota genuine ATF WS, so that's what I'm using, and I have 4 quarts of new fluid ready to go because when I do a drain and fill on this car, I usually get 3 3/4 quarts of old fluid out. Here is the transmission dipstick just to the right of the upper radiator hose and to the left of the battery. So straight down below here is your transmission, and on the underside of the transmission is where your drain plug is. Now we're under the car. That's the driver's side front tire, and the drain bolt for the transmission is right here. But you can see there's a hole in the plastic skid plate. I drilled that hole several years ago so that I could get to that bolt without having to drop this plastic down. So your choice is going to be to drill a hole just like I did, or take this plastic shroud down, the skid plate. You'll have to do that every time you drain the transmission fluid. And I drilled that hole in the plastic using this hole saw. If you choose to take this shroud down and not drill a hole through it like I did, you're going to have to take off 6 10mm bolts that go across the front, and also a total of 6 clips that you're going to have to take loose. 3 across the front and 3 on the back. So to get this off, you have 12 fasteners that you have to remove. That's why I drilled a hole through it. I just thought that was easier. To get the drain plug out, I'm using a 10mm Allen wrench. You can see that that plug is recessed, so you have to have an Allen wrench to get that out. And again, it's 10mm. So I'm gonna let that drain until it's just a slow drip. Having the dipstick pulled up like this will let air go down through the tube into the transmission and help that fluid drain out faster. So this drain bolt does have a crush washer on it, but you can see there are no imperfections in the metal. It's nice and smooth. So I'm gonna reuse this crush washer. We're down to a very slow leak, so I'm going to get that drain plug put back in. And what I've found is the easiest way to do this is to slide the drain pan out of the way a little bit, put a towel underneath, and because this shroud is still kind of in the way, if you put the drain plug on the end of that Allen wrench, it's easier to put it back in there straight. And that's only if you cut a hole in the skid plate like I did. If you take the skid plate down, then you can get to the bolt with just your fingers. Now I've just got to get it fully tightened back down. Right there, and now get this wiped off. Then all we have to do is measure how much old fluid we got out and replace the same amount with new fluid. This top line right here is 2 quarts. So that was 2, and now we should fill it up almost to that 2 quart mark again. And we are just a little bit short. So a little more than 3 3/4 quarts of old fluid came out. That's how much we have to replace. We're going to add the new fluid down through the dipstick hole. Use a funnel. I'm going to add it slowly because the neck of that funnel is real narrow, and if I pour it too fast, then it's going to leak out where the funnel goes into the tube. So there's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to leave a little bit in the bottom of that last one, so not quite 4 quarts. And now reinstall the dipstick, which actually says no need to replace ATF under normal driving conditions. And this car is only used under normal driving conditions, but I've always done this with this car. I've done it with my 05 Highlander, I've done it with my 95 Accord, my 96 Lexus ES300. I've done drain and fills on all those cars, and I have never, knock on wood, had to replace a transmission. So I'm going to continue to do drain and fills, even though it says right here you don't have to do it. It's cheap insurance to me. Now I'm going to drive it around the block, come back and check the underside, check that bolt for leaks. 2 miles around the neighborhood. I will now let it sit for a little while, and then we'll check that drain bolt, make sure we don't have any leaks. After the test drive, no leaks around the drain bolt, so we are good. So this should apply to any model year RAV4 that still has a transmission dipstick. Just make sure you check your owner's manual and use the correct fluid. However much you drain out, that's how much you replace. It's as easy as that. In those 112,000 miles, this is the 3rd time I've done a transmission drain and fill. I've used Toyota ATF WS each time. WS stands for World Standard, so I do it every 30 to 40,000 miles. Doing a drain and fill on this car replaces a little bit less than half the fluid. Total capacity, I believe, is about 8.5 quarts, and I replaced a little under 4. So if you want all your fluid replaced, you need to do a flush. Drain and fill will get a little bit less than half on a 4-cylinder RAV4. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.